This is Nelson Trussler with iGotSmarter.com. You are listening to Jeff Smith on Veer, and keep your eyes on your goals.
I like that. Well done, sir. Okay, so I'm going to hit stop. I'll be right back.
Are you ready to thoughtfully steer away from your revved up, frenzied, and far too often scripted life? Then welcome to Vroom, Veer with Jeff Smith, where he guides you down the road differently traveled by sharing unique experiences with guests who have managed to shift away from a life stuck on cruise control and veered their way into a more authentic and fulfilling one in all sorts of interesting and kind of remarkable ways. Get ready to Vroom, Veer with your differently traveled road chauffeur, Jeff Smith.
Dr. Alan Lycka, thank you so much for being on Vroom, Veer, and welcome to the show. How's it going?
It's going very well. Thanks for having me today, Jeff.
Hey, I appreciate you being here. Every day's a Friday in my life. I'm almost retired. Almost. So talk a little bit about what you're most excited about in your business over there. Your website is dralanlycka.com. Go ahead and talk a little bit about what you're most excited about in your business today.
I'm excited about helping people with their regular lives. I'm helping people I'm really excited about people having a fantastic life, and I'm really excited about getting them there. My life changed for the best back in 2003. When I was walking with my wife in Disneyland, and she turned to me and said, "What's wrong with you, hon?" I was taken aback, Jeff. For once in my life, I hadn't said anything wrong. I hadn't done anything wrong. I hadn't even thunk anything wrong. But she insisted. She said, "What's wrong with you, hon?" I said, "What do you mean? I don't understand." She said, "Listen to your foot. It's flapping." Now, that was the funniest thing I ever said. What's a foot flapping me? Well, my right foot had suddenly and mysteriously developed a right foot drop. It was flapping on the pavement with every step I was taking. Bang, 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 bang.
That's going to be
scary. My wife said, "There's definitely something wrong. Have you had a stroke?" I said, "Dear, you're a doctor. I'm a doctor. That's not how strokes present." She said, "Well, when you get back, you better get this checked out." Well, I certainly was going to listen to her when she said in that tone of voice, "You better get it checked out."
Right.
When you get that ultimatum, Jeff, what do? You
get it checked out. That's what I did.
You get it checked out.
Right.
So I got back I went to see dozens, probably hundreds of doctors.
Right.
They did CAT scans. They did brain scans. They did scans. You know what they showed at the end of the day, Jeff?
They showed nothing.
They showed absolutely nothing. And you know what happens when doctors see absolutely nothing on a test?
They'd send you home and say there's nothing wrong.
No, they start to do more tests.
And
they start to do more tests.
And
they start to do more tests because they want to find the answer. And sometimes the answer isn't there. Well, I ended up on the doorstep of a world-leading neurologist. A guy, a neurologist is the brain guy. He's the guy that has all the answers, right?
Right.
Well, I walked in and I said, "Hi." He said, "Hi, you better be sitting down when I tell you this." I said, "Why? I've got a dropped right foot." He says, "No, you don't. You have ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. Get your affairs in order because in 6 months you're going to be dead."
Wow. Just like that? Just like that.
Just like that. Ton of bricks. Very matter-of-fact guy.
Right.
No bedside manner, as they say.
My goodness.
But I shot back, "Can you prove this diagnosis?" He said, "Of course, on autopsy."
Did he really say that?
He sure did.
Wow. Okay.
So I said, I'm not going to die to prove you wrong. But when you go through a life-changing experience like that, Jeff, a turning point in your life, you go through what are called the stages of death and dying, written by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. You go through anger.
Right.
You're angry at the world. Jeff, have you ever been angry at the world when you went through a turning point?
I have to think about that. Yes. Yes, I can probably say yes confidently to that. I have experienced anger at the world. Yes.
Anger at the world is the best way to describe it.
You're not
God. Angry at any given person.
Right.
You're angry at the world. You can bite the head off nails. You're snarly. You're angry. You're mad. You're just
right. And you don't even know
crazy
why.
with that.
Right.
And,
right.
you know, I think in a certain respect, that's what's been going on since people have been going through the pandemic. Everybody's mad. You know, you go into a traffic jam, everybody's honking, everybody's mean, they've lost their kindness, they're mad.
Right.
And that's why I think the word mad is there.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy with anger.
Go through bargaining, Jeff.
Sure.
When you go through a real bad turning point, you go through bargaining. Oh, God, please don't let this happen. I'll do anything if you don't let this happen.
Sure.
I've done
that. I've done that. Yep. Oh, denial is my favorite.
Denial's the favorite. There's nothing wrong. I'm perfectly right.
This is all in my head.
My right leg.
There's nothing wrong with me. That guy's
nothing
just
wrong.
crazy.
I can do anything. So I worked hard. I would work 12, 24 hours a day saying, at the end of this, I'm going to have something to show for it. But then comes the big one, the depression that sets in, the black days,
depressed,
the days when you're lying in your bed and you can't even get out of your bed and you say, why am I doing this? I am going to be dead in 6 months. It doesn't really matter.
Right. What's the point? Right.
What's the point?
Why get up and take a shower and put on my pants? Yes. Right. I get it. Yep. Been there, done that.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. And that's why I mentioned these phases. I think these phases happen in any turning point. Certainly when your life's in jeopardy, that's a big turning point. So you go through it even more.
Yeah.
But I asked my wife, I said, wife, what do I have? She said, I don't know. But in my heart of hearts, I know you don't have ALS. You're smart. You can figure it out.
Wow. Okay.
Wow. Thanks for the vote of confidence there. That doesn't help me too much. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, I decided to look for other sources. And, you know, when you're at your end, you do look for pieces. You look for ways to find, to try to get out of it.
Let me ask you a question. How long, over what sort of span of time did this all sort of occur?
I think over about a 6-month period of time. It was a whirlwind.
Beginning to end? Okay. Right. And then towards the end of that, I suppose, like once you got to what was the last phase? So you went through all those phases of anger and bargaining and denial, and then anger. Depression.
You know,
right?
Elizabeth Kubler-Ross says the last phase is acceptance, and I wasn't going to accept a diagnosis that I knew was wrong.
Gotcha.
So I went through the next phase, which is looking for answers.
Okay. All right.
So, and you know, back in 2003, something new was invented. You ever heard of it? It's called the internet.
I have heard of it. I've been there on occasion. Yes.
Yeah, I say that with
it was still a little new in 2003, though.
2003, it was so new you had to use something called dial-on connections. You ever get into those, Jeff?
Yes, I have been a nerd since before there was a. So I'll tell a brief story. So I joined the Air Force in 1987, right? And my first office in 1988 in Japan, we had computers, right? But they were not networked together. So they were just there. And if you wanted to move a file from one computer to another computer, you used this thing called a disk or a floppy disk. You remember those?
Yes. They were huge things that would help you move a file.
Right. I think I don't remember how much storage space the big ones had, like the real floppy ones, but it wasn't a lot. I remember the 3.5-inch disk had about 1 megabyte on it, or 1.4 megabytes. And we don't even speak in megabytes anymore anyway.
No, we don't. We have so much memory. We have so much power. It's unreal. Well, back then we had no power.
Right.
So we
in
had to use a
2003,
language called DOS to communicate.
Right.
When we got on the internet, we used to use dial-on connections, and your phone would phone another phone, and it would go ria, ria,
I remember. Right.
for something like 15 minutes before it connected. And finally, when it connected, you were on.
It was really
but you
slow.
didn't know what you were doing, so you had to have friends that were nerds to really help you find the answers.
So true.
The problem with the internet, even today, Jeff, is the internet is one of the world's best resources, but it's full of garbage cans.
Yes, it's.
And you can't tell the garbage cans from the real good resources because they all look alike.
That's true.
They all smell alike. And they all seem alike.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You definitely have to have some critical thinking behind what you're looking at anywhere.
So once you get on, what I did was I looked for people that had diseases like mine, things that might be ALS but were not ALS.
Nice.
And I stumbled upon a doctor in Colorado Springs, Colorado, by the name of David Martz. David was a wonderful man who had been stricken by something similar to mine, but he got worse much more rapidly. And he was on his deathbed within a couple of months. He could hardly lift his head from a pillow.
Wow.
And he was such a wonderful man that people from around the world were coming to say goodbye to him. And a doctor from Texas, Dr. Harvey, came up to see Dr. Martz, and he said to him, he noticed something that no one else had noticed. And it was that he didn't think that David had ALS. And he said so. David, you don't have ALS. David said, what do I have? The doctor from Texas said, I think you have something called chronic Lyme disease, which is the bite of a tick, and it mimics ALS. So if I'm right, he said, I can start you on antibiotics, and within a short period of time, you're going to be better.
Wow.
Well, a miracle happened. Within a short period of time, David was like Lazarus arising from the dead. He got up from his pillow, he got up from his bed, and he was dancing within a couple of days.
My goodness.
So there was a huge turning point. And I said, geez, I've got to get down to see this guy. I got to meet David. So I phoned every hospital in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and I got in touch with David at the Methodist Hospital. And David talked to me for hours, and he said, can you come down? I said, when? He said, right now. I said, David, I can't. It's Thanksgiving in Canada. It was Thanksgiving.
I remember,
in Canada is in October.
Right.
And so all this had transpired from Disneyland in February till October. And here I was. David was asking me to come down. I said, my wife has invited 50 people over for Thanksgiving. David said, aren't there any planes in Canada?
Okay.
So I knew I had to go down. I knew I had to see him. I knew I had to go down and meet him. And he said, my wife, I went and apologized. I said, dear, I'm not going to be here for Thanksgiving. She said, which meeting are you going through this time? Because as a cosmetic doctor, I was traveling around the world. Right. I was seeing everybody. I was learning from other people. And she knew that I was gone a lot of the time. Well, I said, dear, I'm not going for a meeting this time. I'm going to be going down to Colorado Springs, Colorado, where there's a doctor who claims he might be able to help me. Right. She said, good. Let me help you pack your bags. I will drive you to the airport.
That's great.
She said, I think some of the answers to our prayers have come about. So I got on a plane from Edmonton to Denver. It was a great flight. Then I got on a flight from Denver to Colorado Springs. It was on a puddle jumper, rinky-dink airplane.
I've been on those.
Have you ever been on that flight?
Yeah. Well, not that particular flight, but my parents live, let's see, the closest airport is a very small town, Green Bay, Wisconsin. So, and then an hour north, another drive. Well, it's not an hour anymore because the roads are better. But yes, I've been on plenty of single engine prop planes. And
yes, and the problem with this one is at the end of the day, the air comes off the desert. And the desert air then causes eddies, which causes turbulence. And you know what turbulence is, Jeff?
It's very bouncy air.
Yes, it's basically like a roller coaster. It's like a wild mouse. It's like a Ferris wheel all thrown together. Mm-hmm. The plane will climb 100 feet, then drop 100 feet. Right. It'll climb another 200 feet and drop another 100 feet. And this goes on over and over and over again for the duration of the ride. Wow. Have you ever been on the Drop of Doom at Disneyland?
Yes. Well, not that particular one, but something like that.
Over and over again.
Yeah. Ugh. Your stomach is really enjoying this ride.
Yes, your stomach is really enjoying it. I got off the plane green, and I crawled off the plane, and there was David on the tarmac to meet me. Wow. You see, back then, we hadn't received all the special privileges that came out from 9/11 yet. David was a well-known doctor. He was receiving a guest, and he could drive right onto the tarmac. What a beautiful thing.
Wow, different world.
A different world. And David and I talked for hours, and he said, Dr. Lycka, I think history is repeating itself. I think I can start you on antibiotics and I can make you better. But when you go through something like this, Jeff, your world is different. You realize that you have been given a second chance. You have been given a golden ticket to make your life better and make the life of others better. And that's what I decided to do, was to dedicate my life to helping others at that time. And in 2020, I wrote a book called The Secrets to Living a Fantastic Life. And it has been a bestseller since that time.
That's awesome. So what do you talk about most in this book? Is this mostly about...
what I found was 13 golden pearls, 13 golden pearls. And I like the analogy of a golden pearl. Do you know what causes golden pearl?
No.
Okay.
I know what a pearl is. It's like a piece of sand inside a clam, right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
right. And there are specific oysters that make golden pearls.
Okay.
They're located
Oyster,
in
not
the
clam.
South
Sorry.
Pacific.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And they're so rare that a single solitary pearl could cost upwards of $10,000.
Wow. Okay. So these are like pearls among pearls.
Golden pearls that are found in every one of us.
Okay.
They are found in every one of us, Jeff. Each and every person has these golden pearls. And in my book, I wrote about these 13 golden pearls. And that's what I'm really excited about, giving these golden pearls and bringing these golden pearls out in everyone.
And that's amazing. That's a fun story too. So let's get back into that, like a little bit what you were feeling. Like when I really like the story about sort of like when you transition from really thinking you could die soon to knowing you were going to be okay. Can you walk us through that story?
I think the transition is one that's one of elation.
Right.
You go through total despair
Yes.
to one of jubilation at the end.
Right.
You go from you've turned it around 180 degrees. Your life has turned around 100 degrees. It's a song of joy. Have you ever listened to Mendelssohn's Song of Joy?
Maybe. How's it
Beethoven, 21st or 23rd Symphony, Song of Joy. It's a rapture.
Oh, wait a minute. Is it the Ode to Joy? That one?
Ode to Joy, yes.
Yes.
Sir.
Oh, we all know that one. You know what that makes me think of? The movie Die Hard.
Yes. There certainly was a rapture at the end of that one as well.
Well, well, anyway, I don't want to go off on Die Hard, but go check out Die Hard. They're constantly humming Ode to Joy. Yeah, great song.
But that's what it's all about, I think, in life. To understand the depths of despair and go to the peaks of exaltation is really what makes us understand things. If you don't have those depths of despair, you'll never understand the peaks that come out afterwards.
Right. Have you ever watched this show? You probably haven't. You don't seem like a TV show watching guy. But there's this show where there's this like special forces dude, right? And he takes celebrities out and he puts them through something that is safe, right? But makes them think that if something went wrong, they could possibly die, right? It is all safe, right? Because there's rigging and safety, right? But while that celebrity is going through this death-defying thing, right? Maybe they're like scaling ropes or, doing something dangerous. You can see on their face on the show that they are in that spot of scared to death, right? As soon as they hit that ground, they are going through that little turning point in a microcosm. And it's fun to watch because it's what you just said, that going from I'm going to die to Ode to Joy, it's palpable. You can feel it, which I can't get enough of that. So I definitely know what you're talking about. It's almost like a physical reaction in the body.
Yes, for sure.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. You're going from cortisol to all the good hormones in your brain all at once in one moment. So talk a little bit about how you discovered maybe a story about gratitude.
Yes. Well, gratitude is, I think, one of the fundamental things that everyone needs in their daily life. We have to be grateful for everything. And I think my whole life experience has shown me that how grateful we are. when you've almost died, Jeff, you have to think that every day you've been giving on this planet is something that's more than than you were ever given. And I think that's the
Right.
greatest thing.
It's all bonus, right?
You've got it. I
Right.
think gratitude is one of the fundamental things that everybody needs in their life. I think gratitude is one of the best things a person can have in their life.
Yeah. I think of the many things that I've discovered, like gratitude is something that is best practiced daily, right? If you can come up with a way of putting it in your daily routine as some sort of like ritual of just being thankful
Well,
and
I
grateful.
have a gratitude journal, Jeff, and
That's
in that
perfect.
gratitude journal,
That's
every day
perfect.
I write down something that I'm grateful for. And with
Right.
that, I
That's
found that
perfect.
that's one of the greatest ways to do that.
Mm.
Today I saw that I was on your show. So, of course, I was grateful at that time.
Right. Thank you. I was grateful that you were on my show. So there we go. We had a little unknown moment of gratitude together without even knowing. So that was nice.
Yeah, see, that I think gratitude is part of it. And another way to practice gratitude is by giving. And I
Mm-hmm.
think if everybody gives something every day, something to somebody that they wouldn't normally give, I think that's a good thing. You know, right now we're supposed to be practicing social isolation or social
Right.
distancing.
Right. Right.
Well, there's ways to practice that, but still give. Could you picture going to your neighbor and leaving a box of cookies on his doorstep, something you've just
Mm.
baked for him, and
That would
just
be nice.
saying, this is something nice for you? Or going and having Starbucks delivered for a friend,
Mm.
something that they wouldn't normally get. How about going to your closet and getting some of your old clothes you're not normally wearing, and taking them to one of the places that recycle clothes?
Right.
How about giving something to the food bank today? Something that today there's going to be people without food. Why don't we give
Right.
something to them to help them?
Right. And it feels great too.
Yeah.
You can
Well,
do it out
in
of
Canada, we
selfishness.
have a restaurant called Tim Hortons.
Oh,
Tim
my wife
Hortons is a
loves Tim
coffee shop.
Hortons. Yeah.
And you know what is often there is I go in line, and when I get up to the till, the person tells me, the person just in front of you bought your coffee.
Oh, that's awesome. So that means
Now,
you
you
have
can
to
do
pay it
that when you're
forward,
going
right?
through a fast food delivery line, or you can do that you just going through your Starbucks drive-in. Could you picture buying the coffee for the person next in line?
Or you could just say, I want to buy the person behind me a 12 pack of Timbits
That's right.
because they're
Just think
awesome.
about that and how grateful they will be then.
Right. Right. And then leave. So, you're not around. That
You're not around. You don't want to even be participating in it. You
right.
want it to be an act of gratitude that's given anonymously.
Right. Right. So talk a little bit about going from vulnerable to victory. That sounds like
Well,
a good story to me.
vulnerability is one of the another wonderful thing that we have to experience. Vulnerability is one of the hardest emotions that a person can go through.
Mm.
But, it's really the source where everything happens. It's the source of beauty. It's the source of power. It's also the resource of everything else. Let me use an example.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a foot race or a motorcycle race or a
Yes.
car race?
It's been a long time. Foot race. I don't think I've ever
Okay.
raced in a car or a bicycle. No, I never. Well, maybe a bicycle when I was a kid. Sure.
But think about it.
Yeah.
Think
Okay.
about it.
I'm thinking about it.
Without having putting everything on the line, you will never ever tell it all. Okay?
Okay.
I'm going to tell you a story about vulnerability.
I'm ready.
A man found a cocoon of a butterfly. One day, a small opening appeared. The man watched the butterfly for several hours as it struggled to force its body through the little hole. Suddenly, the butterfly stopped making any progress and looked like it was stuck. So the man decided to help the butterfly. He used a pair of scissors to snip off the remaining bit of the cocoon. The butterfly then easily emerged, although it had a swollen body and small shriveled legs. The man didn't think anything of it and waited for the wings to enlarge to support the butterfly. But that didn't happen. The butterfly spent the rest of its life unable to fly, crawling around with its tiny wings and a swollen body. Despite the kind heart, the man didn't understand that the restricting cocoon and the struggle to get itself through the small opening were God's way of forcing fluid through the butterfly's body into the wings so it could fly when it came out of the cocoon. So vulnerability allows us to struggle. Struggles build our strengths if we allow them and work through them. So vulnerability is something that allows us to become strong and powerful.
That's amazing. I remember that story from the TV show Lost.
There you go.
But I like that version better. It was a little bit more applicable. Yeah, because you're right. You know, I mean, think about all the different struggles that you were in your life. And when you come out of them, obviously you're cursing, you know, you're going through all those stages that we talked about before. You're angry, you're depressed, you're, you know, bargaining, you're denying things. I'm really big on denial myself.
In my book, there's a story for each one of my golden pearls. And also there's
Right.
quotes in there. And I'm going to read you a quote about vulnerability.
Please.
I understand now that the vulnerability I've always felt is the greatest strength a person can have. You can't experience life without feeling life. What I've learned is that being vulnerable to somebody you love is not a weakness, it's a strength. In fact, Jeff, you can't be in love without being vulnerable.
That's right. You're right. This whole idea that we're perfect and like invulnerable, that's always been just sort of like a front, right? For everybody. It's like we're all waking up to this thing about we are vulnerable little creatures on a speck in a vast universe, thinking we're supposed to be perfect.
But we should probably be thankful that we can be vulnerable. That allows us to feel. That
Right.
allows us to be human.
I agree. Yeah. Vulnerability, I think, to me, is more about being just like ready to say, I'm responsible 100% for everything that happens in my life. You know, and for me, I don't know about you, but personally, I like to extend that all to like pre-birth. I'm responsible for me before I was born. And that allows me to know when things don't go my way or I'm struggling, right? The first thing I used to do would be lash out, right? To like look for something outside myself to blame. And that always just inevitably leads to more struggle for me. When I can allow myself to say, oh, okay, what did I do? What did I do to make this occur, right? I don't know if you've ever had that sort of realization.
Yes, and I think that's part of my life. You know, when I went through the struggle to get out of ALS and find the real diagnosis, that struggle was all that made it happen. And the struggle was an integral part of it. And the struggle I'm thankful for. I'm certainly not thankful for the fact that I was diagnosed as ALS. That's something that is
Right.
a crushing thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, it helped me to get to a higher, better point in my life.
It's you're not thankful for, you know, the negative parts. But you are, your mindset changes to now you're always looking for the silver lining kind of attitude. I think it's definitely a mindset shift.
Yes, exactly, Jeff. I think the mindset shift is what it's important. And that brings up another golden pearl, which is attitude. You know, the only thing stronger than a good attitude is a bad attitude.
That's true. You're not wrong about that.
So it's important to realize that attitude is something that helps us to reshape and rechange our mindsets. And our mindsets are a result of the attitude that we bring.
Yeah, you're right. Escaping. Talk about like a story where you were stuck in a negative mindset and you learned how to escape. if you
Well,
have
I'm
one of
going to
those
give you a
stories.
story about enthusiasm in that regard,
That's perfect.
because I think that's a
Yeah,
very
that's
important
perfect.
one. There was a carpenter by the name of Fred, and Fred was a carpenter that worked for his whole life for one company. He had worked for 45 years and he was tired. So he went to his boss and said, "Boss, I'm out of here. I can't work anymore. I'm tired." And so the boss said, "Oh, Fred, I'm really taken aback by this. You know, you're my number one carpenter. Can you do just one more thing for me before you leave?" And Fred said, "Of course, boss. I've loved it here. This has been the only job that I've ever worked in." Well, the boss said, "Can you just build me one more house? You built all these beautiful houses for me all my life. I just need one more built. Only you can do it. You're my master carpenter." Fred said, "Of course I will build you one more house." But his heart was not into it. You know, in the old days, he used to work 24 hours a day. He loved his job. He could hardly wait to get up in the morning and build and build and build. And for the first time, he created shoddy workmanship. But you know, at the end, a miracle happened. The house passed inspection. And Fred then went to his boss and said, "Okay, I'm out of here." The boss said, "Just hold it, Fred. We're going to have a party." So they popped the champagne, they had the caviar, and Fred was really overjoyed by this. And the boss said, "Fred, I'm going to gather everybody around. Everyone, this is the happiest day of life for Fred. He's going to be retiring. I'm going to be sad, but I want to give Fred something, a gift to make him realize how important this was to me. Fred, here's the keys to the last house you ever built. Live in it with all the enthusiasm that you ever gave me for my job."
Oh no.
Do you know why I tell you that story, Jeff?
I think so, but tell me.
And enthusiasm is not a Monday thing. It's not a Friday thing. It's the game changer you bring every day. It's the attitude that really makes the world a better place. It really makes everything that much more positive.
Right, right. And he wasn't very enthused when he made his own house. So that's kind of sad for me.
Yes, but he didn't know it was his house. Now, if he knew it
Had
was
he
his
known it
house,
was his house, I bet he would have been more enthused.
I bet you he would have done things differently. But that's not the point of enthusiasm.
I get it. I get it. Yeah, yeah.
Enthusiasm comes despite the fact that you're doing it for yourself. Enthusiasm comes because it's the right thing to do, and we should do the right things.
That's true. You're right. I like that story because it's got one of these sort of like, yay, sort of like mer for Fred. But you know what? I think he probably should have said no. No, boss, I'm not going to do one more thing. Because I thought the story was going to go like, okay, I have another thing and another thing and another thing. Because that's what all my bosses always would do. I was like, there's always one more thing. And at some point, you just have to quit. But anyway, I digress, as I usually do. So what are your other favorite pearls of wisdom?
You know, there's a lot of them, and I really like the one that my second golden pearl called inspiration, and I'm going to read you a story from that chapter as well.
I'm ready.
A little girl sat on the ground, visibly upset. "What's wrong?" asked her dad. "I will never get this. Tying shoelaces is too hard." "It is, my belle fille. But nothing is too hard for my little girl." "Thanks, Dad. I will try." She tried over and over again, failing each time. "Take a break. It will come," said her dad. She took a drink of water and tried again. "I think I can," she said. She tried over and over again. She kept trying, saying, "I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can." Then it became bedtime. "Time to sleep, my belle fille." Throughout the night, the dad heard his daughter say, "I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can." Over and over again, he could hear it. "I think I can, I think I can." The next day, the little girl tried again. "I think I can, I think I can." "Let's go to the store," said the dad. They found a doll with laces they could tie. The little girl began trying to tie those laces. "I think I can, I think I can," over and over. "I think I can." Then it happened. She tied those laces. "I thought I could, I thought I could, I thought I could." And singing in victory, she hugged her dad. The moral of the story, inspiration comes from within.
That's true. I like that story. When I was a kid, I had a really hard time tying my shoes.
Well, now they have Velcro, so you don't have to do that yet.
Yeah, but that takes away the struggle. That now we're all butterflies that can fly.
Right. Away the journey.
I can tell a story from my own life that was interesting, and that's what I was thinking of.
Go ahead, Jeff.
So, like, I struggled mightily with long division. You remember doing long division?
Oh, yes.
So I got to, like, I had no idea. I was like, I don't understand what we're doing here. I know how to draw the box and the line and then the numbers, but I don't know what to do next. And one day we had a substitute teacher, right? And I decided to ask her the question. I just went up there in my vulnerable, whatever, third or fourth grade or whatever it was, right? I don't know. You can't remember when you start doing long division. Maybe I was older. But anyway, I go up there and I say, hey, help me out. I don't get this long division thing. And she took this 3x5 card and she said, step 1. And then, look here, right? And it was like, she did all the little step-by-step operations of long division. And then she said, okay. And then once you do that, then you go back up and start over, right? So there was a line back up to step 1. And I took that card and I looked at it. I was like, I think I can. And I did. And I did it over and over and over again. And when I got done with, like, I don't know, a page of long division, I went up to her and I was like, I want to hug you. You've given me the golden ticket of figuring out this long division thing. But, I don't know what the other teacher was doing differently, but those step-by-step instructions really turned the key of understanding for me.
Well, I think now they've done a big disservice to kids, giving them calculators at a very early age so they don't have to go through those steps.
Yeah, and, there's new math. So if somebody asked me how to teach a kid how to do division, I'd go, I don't know. I know how I do it, but, I haven't done it since school, so I don't really remember. I use a calculator. But, I mean, it's still a good story for, those turning points in life where we have those aha kind of moments.
Yes, I think that's true. And I think those turning points are very important. I think everybody should learn them. And if anybody would like a copy of my book, I'd love to give them one.
Oh, wow.
All they have to do is go to my website, Dr. Alan Lycka /author. Dr. Allen, Allen, and doctor is Dr, by the way, Dr, Allen, Lycka, Lycka /author. I'd like everybody in the world to have a copy of my book. Wow. I'd like to see everybody read it because that's where truth and knowledge will come out. I think people will have a better life. And I think in this day and age, everybody needs a bit of a pick-me-up. Everybody needs a little bit to help them along. And I think everybody needs a little bit to make them have a fantastic life as well.
I agree. And it sounds like a fun read too.
It is a fun read. Every chapter has a story. Every chapter has quotations in it. And each time you read a quotation or a chapter, it'll take you deeper into the story and deeper into the meaning of life. And that's what I'd like everybody to learn about.
Yeah. And some of my favorite, like, turning points are simple little things that, when I think about them, they're no big deal, but they're a huge deal. If you know what I mean. I'll give you an example. So I was, bored at work and randomly poking around the internet as one does these days. And I found this blog post, I guess, about sleeping positions, right? And it's like how to nail sleep. One of those, right? And I was like, oh, okay. All right. Let's see what he's got to say. And the gist of the article for me was there was this, if you're a side sleeper, put a pillow between your knees. And I was like, I've tried that before and it didn't really work out. But you know what? I'll give it a whirl, because he seemed to really be trying to sell at this point, right? And I've been having like pain in my hips and joints and knees, and especially when I'm sleeping, right? I'm usually like waking up in the middle of the night, rolling from one side to the other because this hip hurts. The down hip always hurts, right? So I'm switching. So I grab a pillow and I proceed to put it between my knees, and at the same time, with the pillow between my knees, I'm able to stretch up my legs straight instead of having them sort of like bent at the knee.
Yeah.
So then I wake up and I realize that I had slept through the night for the first time in I don't know how many years, right? And I was like, wow, that little thing really worked. So so that's my pointing out of a mundane little thing that can really, that's going to pay dividends for years and years and years. Now it's not about
small hinges swing big doors, and that's the important thing we should realize. It's small hinges that make all the difference.
I like that. Say that again. Small hinges turn big doors. Oh, that's good. I'm keeping that.
That was said first by W.E. Clementi Stone, who was an industrialist, and very important concept.
I love it. Yeah, just these tiny little daily tweaks, I guess, right? To make your life just a smidge better can just make all the difference over time, right? If you do that every day, right, that's huge. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit more about your people can best get in touch with you at drallenlycka.com, right? And that's DRALLENLYCKA. Did I get that right? LYCKA. Yes. .com. And you've got all of your contact information in there. You've got your book, right? Download the free version of the digital book. And what else have you got how else can people get in touch with Dr. Allen?
Well, that's the best way. And you have to also remember, I am a professional speaker. So if you need me to speak on any of your platforms, whether they're digital or in person, get in touch with me because I can help you there.
That's awesome.
The other way to reach me is Allen at drallenlycka.com. Allen, ALLEN, at Dr. DRALLEN, Lycka, LYCKA.com. I would love to talk to you.
Thank you, Alan. This has been a blast. I appreciate you being on my show.
Thank you, Jeff. It was a pleasure. Thank you. It was really a great pleasure to be with you.
All right. Thanks, and have a good one.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for taking the time to ride along with us on another episode of Vroom Vroom Veer. For podcast info and show notes, be sure to head over to vvveer.com. That's VVER.com. Man, that's fun to say. And we'll catch up with you next time here on Vroom Vroom Veer.